Hello, this is Whispers of Korea. Today's story is The Magistrate's Judgment, a tale inspired by the Litigation legend. Let's listen together. The courthouse in Andong had stood for 3 centuries, its weathered stone walls bearing witness to countless verdicts that shaped lives and sealed fates. Magistrate Park Jin-woo adjusted his black silk robes as he entered the judgment hall, morning light filtering through paper windows, casting long shadows across the polished floor.
Bring forth today's cases.
His assistant, Clerk Lee, approached with a stack of documents, his face unusually pale.
Your Honor, there's something unusual about today's first case.
Unusual how?
The plaintiff claims his neighbor stole his chickens, but the defendant insists the chickens chose to leave on their own.
Park Jin-woo had heard stranger cases in his 20 years as magistrate. Rural disputes often involved peculiar claims about livestock behavior.
Summon both parties.
The plaintiff entered first, a thin farmer named Choi Byung-ho, his clothes patched and worn. Behind him shuffled the defendant, Han Gi-suk, whose prosperous appearance contrasted sharply with his accuser.
Honorable Magistrate, this man has stolen my prize hens. They were laying eggs daily until 3 nights ago when they vanished.
I took nothing. The chickens came to my yard willingly, seeking better conditions.
Park Jin-woo studied both men carefully. Something in Han Gi-suk's confident demeanor troubled him.
Clerk Lee, bring the evidence.
Inside the box lay several white feathers and what appeared to be small bones arranged in an odd pattern.
These were found at the boundary between their properties.
Park Jin-woo had never seen bones arranged in such a deliberate formation. The pattern seemed almost ritualistic.
Han Gi-suk, explain these bones.
Perhaps wild animals left them there.
As Han Gi-suk spoke, Park Jin-woo noticed the man's shadow seemed to move independently of his body, writhing slightly against the wall.
Choi Byung-ho, describe your chickens' behavior before they disappeared.
They became restless at night, clucking in patterns I'd never heard. My wife said it sounded almost like whispering.
The sound echoed faintly through the courthouse walls, though no chickens should have been near the building.
That sound, where is it coming from?
I don't hear anything, Your Honor.
Han Gi-suk's expression darkened, his confident mask slipping momentarily to reveal something predatory beneath.
The magistrate must be tired from his morning duties.
Park Jin-woo felt a chill run down his spine. In his peripheral vision, he caught sight of additional shadows moving along the walls, shadows that belonged to no one in the room.
Clerk Lee, examine Han Gi-suk's property records.
Sir, according to these documents, Han Gi-suk's land was previously owned by the shamanic temple. that was destroyed 50 years ago.
The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Park Jin-woo remembered stories his grandmother told about shamans who could command spirits of animals.
Han Gi-suk, what do you know about the temple that once stood on your land?
Ancient history has no bearing on modern disputes.
The courthouse's wooden beams began to creak ominously, as if the building itself was reacting to the conversation.
Your Honor, my grandfather told me stories about that temple. The shaman there could call animals from great distances, bend them to her will.
The paper windows began to vibrate slightly, and Park Jin-woo noticed the shadows on the walls were growing longer, despite the sun climbing higher outside.
I propose an unusual test. Both of you will return tomorrow at dawn. Choi Byung-ho, bring something that belonged to your chickens. Han Gi-suk, you will submit to a traditional truth examination.
What manner of examination?
One that has been used in these halls for 3 centuries.
Han Gi-suk left abruptly, his shadow seeming to linger on the wall several seconds after his departure.
Sir, what truth examination did you mean?
I'm not entirely sure yet, but tonight I'll consult the old records.
That evening, Park Jin-woo descended into the courthouse basement, where centuries of legal documents were stored. Dust motes danced in his lantern light as he searched for precedents involving spiritual matters. In a leather-bound journal from the 1700s, he found an entry that made his blood run cold.
When dealing with practitioners of the old ways, traditional evidence may prove insufficient. The magistrate must invoke the judgment of the spirits themselves.
The entry described a ritual where suspected shamans were confronted with mirrors placed around the courtroom, as spirits could not hide their true nature from their own reflection.
This is madness. But if Han Gi-suk is using supernatural means...
His lantern flame began to dance wildly, and in the shifting light, Park Jin-woo saw something that made him gasp. Carved into the basement walls were the same bone patterns he'd seen in evidence.
This courthouse, it's connected to the temple.
Someone was walking in the courtroom above, though the building should have been empty. Park Jin-woo climbed the stairs quietly. In the judgment hall, Han Gi-suk stood before the magistrate's bench, his hands moving in complex patterns over the evidence box.
Ancient spirits of this place, hear my call. Let the judgment favor those who understand the old ways.
A sudden gust of wind filled the sealed room, extinguishing Park Jin-woo's lantern and plunging everything into darkness.
Stop! This court recognizes no authority beyond the law.
The evidence box crashed to the ground, and in the darkness Park Jin-woo heard the distinct sound of clucking. But it was wrong, distorted, like human voices mimicking chicken sounds.
The magistrate interferes with powers beyond his understanding.
Park Jin-woo struck a match, illuminating Han Gi-suk's face. In the flickering light, the man's features appeared to shift and change, sometimes human, sometimes resembling a bird of prey.
You're not just stealing chickens. You're practicing shamanic rituals.
I am reclaiming what was taken from my ancestor. This land, these spirits, they belong to my bloodline.
More figures entered the courtroom, translucent forms that seemed to be wearing the traditional robes of shamans. They circled the room, their faces hidden in shadow.
Guards! Guards!
No response came. Park Jin-woo realized he was completely alone with Han Gi-suk and whatever spirits he had summoned.
Tomorrow's judgment will favor me, Magistrate. The spirits have decreed it.
The courtroom doors flew open, and all the supernatural presences vanished instantly, leaving Park Jin-woo alone in the darkness. Dawn arrived gray and cold. Park Jin-woo had spent the remaining night hours preparing his strategy, gathering mirrors from throughout the courthouse.
Sir, are you certain about this approach?
Sometimes the law must adapt to circumstances beyond conventional understanding.
Both parties arrived punctually. Choi Byung-ho carried a small woven basket, while Han Gi-suk appeared confident and composed.
Before we proceed with testimony, I invoke an ancient right of this court. Let all present face themselves honestly.
Park Jin-woo unveiled the mirrors he had positioned around the room. Choi Byung-ho's reflection appeared normal, but Han Gi-suk's image showed something disturbing.
Your Honor, look at the mirrors.
In every reflective surface, Han Gi-suk's reflection showed not a man, but a massive crow, with human hands surrounded by dozens of ghostly chickens. The mirrors began to crack under some unseen pressure, spiderweb fractures spreading across their surfaces.
Clever Magistrate, but mirrors cannot contain what I have become.
Choi Byung-ho, open your basket.
Inside the basket were several eggs, but as soon as they were exposed to the air, they began to glow with a soft, warm light.
My hens laid these eggs the morning before they disappeared. My wife said to save them that they felt different.
The glowing eggs began to emit a low humming sound, and Han Gi-suk recoiled as if they caused him physical pain.
Those eggs, they're protected by something.
Protected by the love and care of their keeper. Something your shamanic powers cannot overcome.
From outside the courthouse came the sound of many chickens calling, their voices creating a harmonious chorus that seemed to push back against the dark energy filling the room.
My chickens, they're coming home.
Through the windows, dozens of chickens could be seen actually flying, toward the courthouse, their eyes glowing with the same warm light as the eggs.
This is impossible. They should be bound to me.
Your ancestor may have commanded spirits through fear and ritual, but these animals chose their home through love. That bond cannot be broken by shamanic power.
Dark clouds gathered outside as Han Gi-suk's composure finally shattered completely.
Then I'll claim what's mine through other means.
A supernatural wind filled the courtroom, but instead of chaos, it carried the chickens safely through the windows. They landed gently around Choi Byung-ho, clucking contentedly.
Han Gi-suk, by the authority vested in this court, by both earthly law and spiritual justice, I find you guilty of theft through supernatural coercion.
As the gavel struck, the mirrors around the room reflected not Han Gi-suk, but empty space. He had become completely transparent.
This judgment will not hold. The old ways will return.
Han Gi-suk walked toward the door, his form becoming more and more translucent with each step until he vanished entirely.
Sir, what just happened?
Justice, Clerk Lee. Sometimes it takes forms we don't expect.
Choi Byung-ho gathered his chickens, tears of joy streaming down his face.
Thank you, Honorable Magistrate. How did you know what to do?
This courthouse has seen many unusual cases over the centuries. Sometimes the wisdom of the past guides us toward justice in the present.
As the participants left, Park Jin-woo began organizing his files. In his official report, he would record a simple case of livestock theft, resolved through careful investigation.
Will you mention the supernatural elements in your report?
Future magistrates will face their own unusual cases, Clerk Lee. They'll find the tools they need when the time comes.
That evening, as Park Jin-woo prepared to leave the courthouse, he noticed something carved into his wooden bench. The same bone patterns from the evidence, but arranged differently now, in a pattern that suggested protection rather than summoning.
Perhaps some spirits approve of today's judgment.
Walking home through the village, Park Jin-woo reflected on the day's events. Justice, he realized, sometimes required more than law books and precedent. In the distance, he could hear the contented sounds of Choi Byung-ho's chickens settling in for the night, safe in their chosen home.
Tomorrow will bring new cases, new challenges. But today, justice was served.
At his own home, Park Jin-woo's wife greeted him with warm light and a simple meal, grounding him once again in the ordinary world.
How was court today, husband?
Educational, my dear. Very educational.
That night, Park Jin-woo slept soundly, knowing that the ancient courthouse would continue to serve justice in all its forms, bridging the gap between the world of law and the realm of spirits, ensuring that truth would always find a way to emerge, no matter how deeply it might be buried.